As Volvo Cars rolls into the future, the 75-year-old company needs only 7 words to describe the automotive industry. There are cars, and there is Volvo. Volvo has always had a strong identity, a Scandinavian identity, which, by definition, makes it different. The idea of Volvo was inspired by a very Scandinavian tradition. One summer's evening in 1924, Assa Gabrielsson and Gustav Larsson bumped into each other in a restaurant in Stockholm, where they ordered a huge plate of red crayfish. And a few hours later, these two car enthusiasts agreed upon starting what would be known to the world as Volvo. Quite different to start a company at a crayfish party, but very Scandinavian.
This is Volvo.
My earliest predecessor, the very first designer at Volvo, was an artist, Helmer Massoller. It was he who designed the very first Volvo car. It's said he was inspired very much by his own Voisin, a French car. But even then, the Volvo was just that little more boxy. The open 5-seater chassis had 4 doors, and the construction was a blend of metal and wood with leather upholstery. It was a very simple design, but very, very functional. But the very first Volvo car was also quite optimistic. Here was a Nordic company entering the market for the very first time with a convertible. During the 30s, inspiration came mainly from the US, when skilled Swedish engineers who'd been working for American car manufacturers in Detroit returned to Sweden and Volvo. They injected Volvo with technological know-how and design influences. Look at the beautiful Carioca, with its new daring rounder shapes and innovative technology such as independent suspension. Still today, the Carioca is one of those real Volvo classics. And the PV800, which became very popular among taxi drivers in the 1940s. Very comfortable, it was often used to rush mothers-to-be to the hospital. And in fact, today, there are some middle-aged Swedes who are actually born in the back of this car. The dawn of the real Volvo design tradition came with the PV444, a very self-confident design. It was smaller than the US models, but bigger and more dynamic than the small European cars of the time, such as the Beetle and the Morris Minor. It created a major breakthrough for Volvo in the US. Roomy on the inside, with enough headroom for 4 people, with their hats on, and enough horsepower to become known as the family sports car. It soon became very popular with many racing drivers at the time. In those days, some competitors refused even to come to the start line if a Volvo was entered in the race. It was considered to be a waste of time and petrol. The PV444 was later transformed into the Duet, 2 cars in one. And estate cars have been Volvo's trademark ever since.
Volvo Amazon.
Hej, jag heter Volvo Amazon.
In the 50s, Italian influence on car design was very strong. And Volvo, now with an appointed designer, Jan Vilsgaard, blended Italian inspiration with Swedish functionality. This resulted in the PV120, or the Amazon as it was known. It was full of design features which have become part of Volvo's look ever since. The strong V-shaped hood, the distinctive shoulder line, and the grille, standing vertically, proud to be Volvo.
En Volvo, en Volvo, en Volvo.
Man får det gott och varmt i en Volvo Amazon.
The 50s was a decade when Volvo's name became synonymous with safety. In 1959, Volvo changed the automotive world forever by introducing the 3-point safety belt. This was one of the most important life-saving innovations in human history and has become the base for safety in all modern cars. So, with this life-saving image in mind, what could be more appropriate than for the next Volvo to be driven by a saint? The P1800, sporty, dynamic and suave enough to be driven by Roger Moore in the British television series The Saint. And being Volvo, the Swedes couldn't help themselves. They had to build an estate version of their beautiful sports car. But the tailgate of the P1800 ES has made a comeback several times since. With the 140, followed by the 240, Volvo introduced a timeless shape which attracted customers all over the world for almost 30 years. The clean, simple Scandinavian lines took the Volvo virtue of functionality to new heights.
Because station wagons carry cargo a lot more precious than groceries.
Volvo, we build them the way we build them because we have to.
At a time when the automotive world was turning back to more soft, rounded shapes, Volvo once again chose its own path.
But to a radar gun, they look exactly alike.
The bold new design certainly got its fair share of attention, but Volvo was confident that the 700 series would be a hit, and they were right. Soon, Volvo's sales figures reached an all-time high. As Volvo's largest industrial project so far, the Volvo 850 started a whole new era. Safety, reliability, functionality, all world-famous Volvo virtues. But now with an added dynamic driving experience. All wrapped up in a distinctive package, which began to change Volvo's image forever. In fact, the Volvo 850 estate was voted the most beautiful estate car in the world, in Italy, where good design is a way of life.
And people around the world, everywhere I go, say Volvo.
The dramatic change in the technology with the 850 was followed in the mid-90s with just as dramatic a change with the design language of Volvo. The S and V40, the C70, and the S80. They are all great examples of the new look. But no matter how different these cars look from the previous models, they're all based solidly on Volvo's design heritage. When I gave the design team the brief for the new S60, there was a C70 parked in the studio. So I just took a piece of black tape and added a rear door. This was the challenge, a four-door coupe. The S60 and its siblings, the S80, the V70, and now the XC90, are excellent examples of how engineers and designers work hand in hand in a modern car company. So what about the future? Well, because we design our cars totally digitally, we can work faster and smarter than most of our competitors. And today it's not only possible just to design a car on a computer, we can also test drive it, and even do crash tests. And all of this, long before we build one single prototype. The cars of the future will change, and so will society, and the people driving the cars. And Volvo will be part of this development. Still Scandinavian, still different. There are cars, and there is Volvo.